Oh, what a powerful use of technology in such a positive way, and I'm sure that people are really moved by this.
Yeah, there really are. We've had a number of people that think when they first see it that it's real, and then they realize that it's a lifelike 3D animation. And we've had Judy Brown, who is the founder of American Life League. When she first saw it, she got teary-eyed, and Chris can relate.
Yeah, she actually she cried, and she said that I've been waiting for this for 35 years. It was quite a moving experience for her.
Remind our viewers where they can view this.
It's www.remembertheunborn.org.
Remembertheunborn.org from the American Life League. Kevin Kenyon and Chris Riley, thanks for joining us, and have a great day for life.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, Doug, back to you.
Thank you, Brian. Very, very powerful, and it's a great use of technology, as we've seen. We've tried to do that here on EWTN as well, to have beautiful graphics. We've got a great creative services group here. We've done wonderful graphics, and we see more and more of that. And in fact, we're trying to encourage, Father, people out in the field like that, young people with talents and ability to be able to send us material, not only right now during the social media, which we're going to go to in a minute, but also just even for spots and other things that we can put on the air and make available on YouTube, reach through short form material that reaches young people in the formats that they watch TV, because they don't watch it in a traditional way most of us do, sitting there in front of this box. It's on an iPad, or it's on their computer, or it's on their iPhone or their Android. It's a different way of tapping in, though the message is still the same, and it's got to just be presented in a different way.
In a concise way.
Right,
so
exactly.
Something less than 5 minutes.
Well, we have Sesame Street attention spans we're dealing with these days too, I think.
So that was a beautiful way to show the extent of it, with almost 60 million abortions. And then we have our counter here to look at the reality of the individuals. So now we're up to 3 digits.
Right.
We have 152 since the beginning of our coverage.
Right, exactly. And it's kind of reminds you of the reality of what we're talking about here today. And we're not just talking about abortion here too. We're talking about the whole womb to tomb pro-life issues. We've got assisted suicide out there. We of course also are dealing with the idea of, there was some discussion in New York about, that you should be, starving Alzheimer's patients and things like that. And we just had that story recently. Which I know I'm pretty sure we had on our Facebook page. I think Michelle had told me we had that on there, about the young man who had been in a coma for multiple years.
Yes.
And then suddenly came out of it. And for all of us to know, not only was he, thank goodness, taken care of by his parents, but we should all know he heard everything that was said.
Yes.
So we got to be careful about that.
That's right.
So quickly, many of times assume that because someone, let's say, is in a nursing home and incapacitated, maybe even mentally incapacitated, that, well, they're really not there anymore. And we're learning that's not true. They may not be able to respond to you. They may not be able to converse with you. It doesn't mean they're not there.
And they often say that hearing is the last thing to go. And I've talked to people who were in comas, and they said, that's really true, that I knew what was going on around me, and yet I couldn't respond to it at the moment.
Exactly.
So really our Catholic faith, what our Lord has taught us, is the preciousness of every life.
Right.
Every life from the womb to the tomb is precious in God's sight.
Right, and that means dealing with it in between those periods as well, even in how we take care of the special needs children, how we take care of the poor, and how we basically take care of each other. I know one thing that I read recently, and I was reading a book, I read a lot of different books, but from my book show, but was the idea of saying that in some ways it's a lot easier to give money to some people in some third world country than it is to take care of the poor in your own family.
And many are faced with that situation today, when they have an elderly parent maybe that needs a lot of attention, a lot of care. A lot of people are in that situation. Or one of the most moving moments that I had was up at the shrine, and this couple had their little daughter. She's just 4 years old. Her name was Teresa, and she had a trach tube. But there was just a beauty about this family, about this little girl, that they treasured her life. She was precious, even though she had this struggle just to survive.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes with many things, it's until we lose things or are threatened with losing things that we start to realize how much treasure we've already had that we've overlooked while we've been looking into everybody else's yard, figuring out, where's mine. And we're getting some more information and mining what's out there in the field from our viewers and people on social media who are getting in touch with us. So we go again back to our media mavens at our social media pro-life center. Michelle.
Well, Doug, I want to give a shout out to Communications Assistant David Clark. He just posted a question asking people what inspired them to become part of the pro-life movement. And we've gotten some really good answers. And if you haven't made an answer to that, please go on our Facebook page now, like us if you haven't, and answer the question. But here's one from Patty Smith. And she says, I became pro-life after having 2 abortions and suffering the dire consequences: alcoholism, promiscuity, and subsequently I became suicidal. Thank God for Silent No More awareness and a Rachel's Hope healing retreat. I was able to come to terms with what I had done, which compelled me to become a voice for the unborn. April Johnson says her boyfriend is adopted, and if it wasn't for his mother's choice to give him life, she would never have met him. A friend told her that Priest for Life was going to be speaking at a local university. She still thought that in the case of rape, women should have that quote-unquote choice. But after hearing Priest for Life and meeting Rebecca Kiesling, pro-life speaker, via Facebook, her entire outlook on abortion changed. So those are some pretty powerful testimonies. I have one other. Donna Marie Shields says, I used to think that you had to do what was right for you. But then a relative was dying and she kept repeating, who is that baby at the bottom of my bed? Earlier in her life, she had lost a baby due to miscarriage. She also said she could see her brother at the bottom of the bed who had passed 3 years ago. This happened a few weeks ago and has really made me think about abortion. I would tell this story to anyone that was thinking of termination.
Yeah, Michelle, along those same lines, Gloria Burris posted on Facebook, I had a very difficult pregnancy with my daughter, and due to much bleeding, when I was just about 3 months into the pregnancy, the doctor at the clinic decided that they were going to take the baby. Since I would lose it anyway, I refused and did not go back until I delivered. She is 42 years old today, that baby. God is the great physician and had a plan for her life. Beautiful, powerful. Back to you, Doug.
Thanks, Mike, and thank you, Michelle. And thank you, EWTN viewers and supporters out there who are sharing your stories and your messages with us. It's really important, as we know here, Father, that with the work we do as well, to get that positive feedback, to feel like you're not just pushing a stone up a hill and it's not going anywhere.
I think that's one of the things that the March provides, is that it gives people encouragement and being with others, a multitude of others, hundreds of thousands of others, who see the reality of abortion, the effects that it has, and wants to stand up in a very positive way to talk about the beauty of life.
And we were talking about all the different programming we have throughout the month of this January is our pro-life month, and I'm thinking about what you had just said earlier about and what some of the stories we just heard. But Saint Gianna Beretta Mola, a modern-day hero of divine love, is also a program we have on this month. People should check out. We're someone who refused an abortion, you know what I mean, and was willing to give their life to their child.
And there's a beauty to that story because it's a story of love. You know, Pope Francis said this around Christmas time. He was saying a world without mothers would be inhuman. And he said these words. He says, mothers are the strongest antidote to the spread of selfish individualism. A world without mothers would be inhuman because mothers always know how to give witness, even the worst of times, to tenderness, dedication, and moral strength.
Well, I always think of football games. You always hear the guy, I never heard a guy say, thank you, caregiver. It's always, yes. Hi, Mom. So anyway, we're going to take you back out to the Verizon Center to check in what's going out there. I think actually the homily from the Mass we can dip into.
And always being amazed by looking around and saying, wow, there's people my age who really stand for this, who really stand for life. It's an incredible witness that we can give to the world and to each other simply by being here. And that's why the Lord tells us in the first reading. He tells us through Jeremiah, never ever say, I am too young, because you are spreading his message. He has sent us to speak his word, and it's amazing for us to be a part of that. Above all, it's amazing to be here because each one of us has been given the opportunity, has been given the chance to live our life and to be here. We've had that chance, and so we celebrate that we have it, and we live out our life, especially remembering those who did not have that chance. That is what we're doing here today. I had to remind myself that a couple times on the metro, where I was tempted to just fall asleep and miss my stop, or fake an injury so that someone else would be tagged in to do this homily. It's not about me at all. It's not about how good this homily is. We're here defending that life. We're simply here to champion the cause for those who have no voice, who have not had our opportunity. We are here to build up and plant the seed of respect for every single human life. Above all, we gather here to pray that we receive here the next generation of heroes that will stand up and defend this life. I think we're doing pretty well, no? We have an auditorium full, we have the Rising Center full of people, of young people, wishing to say, we defend life from conception to natural death. That's what we're looking for. Heroic people. People who are willing to stand against the culture and defend what is most important to us. You know, it's funny, over the years, my definition of what a hero is has developed. You know, at first it started simply being flashbang, superpower kind of things. Eventually, it became someone who put themselves in harm's way for someone else. But now I think I can truly see the true hero is someone that will let nothing, absolutely nothing, no matter how big, how small, get in the way of defending what they know to be true, of living with that mission of defending the smallest part of our society, of defending what they know comes directly from God. And that's when I came to realize that I know a hero. I've met a hero before. A woman who, against all obstacles, against all trials, stood firm and would not budge, would not move from what her beliefs were when everything else in her life seemed to sway. She remained constant when constancy seemed the last thing that was given to her. 3 times she was tested, 3 times she found the courage to stand firm. The first time, she told me, she felt that she had no support anywhere, not even from her own family, from those closest to her. And in that very moment, she gets pregnant. A man forced himself upon her, and she ended up pregnant, and the family just kind of let her be. She felt totally alone, nowhere to go, practically disowned. And someone told her, you know, you shouldn't be going through this. You know, you don't deserve this. You don't have any support. This is impossible for you. You know what? Just take the practical solution. Abort. She looked her life up and down, and yeah, it wasn't practical. It wasn't easy. But she said, I cannot face the rest of my life knowing that I have taken this one from someone. And so she said no to that abortion, and she said yes to life. Second time rolls around, not many years later. Different situation, different place. Having found a support, after a fact, in a family that welcomed her, gave her everything that she needed, well-intentioned, she became pregnant again, yet she still wasn't married. And the family said, listen, you already have a daughter. You're already alone. You're not married to this man. We don't know what your relationship will become with him. Now, we're not really fond of this guy, but we love you. You know what? Don't take the risk. We'll take care of everything. We'll pay for everything. Don't ruin your life. Abort. For a second time, she's forced to look at this reality and look at her life and say, it's not perfect still. I'm not sure what my future holds. But she said, no, I can't. No matter how genuine, how full of love and well-intentioned that suggestion was, she said no once again. No to abortion, and yes to this life that was growing in her. A good 13 years later, once again she finds herself tested. Against all odds, that marriage did work. She saw her family grow. And when everything seemed stable enough, she got a tumor. And so the doctors started treating her as best they could for a year with heavy medication. They said, don't worry, you have no chance whatsoever that you will get pregnant. Well, lo and behold, a week before the surgery, hey, surprise, you're pregnant. And they said, but you know what the problem is with this pregnancy? The medication was so strong, there is zero chance that this child will be born normally. By this point, she said she was a pro. She had already experienced this twice. She'd been in tougher situations. So she said, normal or no, this is something I will not do. No to that abortion, and yes to the life that was growing within her. Against every circumstance, against every setback that she experienced, this woman stood firm. I find that heroic. This type of heroism is largely unsung in our society. And so we sing it today. We praise her. And to this woman, for her valiant effort, for constantly standing firm and focusing on her steadfast love for what life is, I simply say, thank you, Mom. Thank you very much. Now, I told her not to come today because, as she knows, I take every opportunity to embarrass her with about as many people as possible. But today, I really thought we need to sing this type of heroism. So she's over here. And thank you with all my heart, because truly thank you, because the only question that kept popping up in my mind after I discovered this about my mother was, what if? What if it had been different? What if she had not had that courage? What if she had said no to each of those lives? I'd be without a sister who has given me some amazing nephews and a gorgeous little niece. What if, because they told her there was no chance that my younger sister would be born normally, and that it would be too difficult, she had decided not to take that risk. My 15-year-old sister, beautiful girl. Now, I don't know if anyone in our family would consider her normal necessarily, but no worse than the rest of us, at least. What if she had listened to that well-intentioned voice saying, you can't handle this. This is too much for you. The situation isn't right. And she had decided to say no to her only, and might I say, good-looking son. What if? I look back at my life now. You definitely have a different priest preaching today. And I look back over the last 2 years of my priesthood, and I think, all those sins forgiven by confession, all the sacraments celebrated, all the spiritual encounters, it's not because I'm great, but at least I've been there for somebody. What if she had said no? Because God tells each and every one of us here, from the womb I have called you. I have a plan for every one of you. What if she had said no? There's a plan from the womb I have called you. From before each of us is born, He has dedicated us. That is what we celebrate today. That's what's so amazing about being here, that we have this opportunity to stand up for life. We have this opportunity to shout and tell the world there's something greater here. Since we have this wonderful opportunity to live, we're called to do something with that life. We've been marching for many years. We've been celebrating here for many years. And that's great. We're standing up for life year after year. But we're called, above all, to hold fast to that hope that someone out there will listen to what we have to say. What we need heroes. We need people who are willing to stand up against the tide of this culture, even if there's resistance, even when there seems to be no hope. St. Paul says, do not conform yourselves to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And that'd be great to sit here and pray. We hope that everything goes well in our lives. We hope that none of us ever have to face these difficult decisions. But we can't control that. What we can do is transform ourselves. The church, our Lord, is asking us not to eliminate every peril, but to simply stand up and let him form us into the heroes we need to be. That takes commitment. That takes sacrifice. So St. Paul once again tells us, I urge you, brothers and sisters, and I urge you with him, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. What if we took that seriously? What if we became the sacrifice for the world, just like Jesus is in this Eucharist for us? What if we allow ourselves to be transformed by his love so that this society can see that in us? What if we had a whole generation that took that upon themselves to daily sacrifice everything so that Jesus may shine in this world? What would happen if we stopped caring whether we're well respected in the world, whether we're keeping up with whatever society is telling us, and simply let the Lord transform our minds and transform our lives? What if we stopped caring about holding fast to the beliefs that society gives us, no matter how uncomfortable they seem to make us? Now you may say, that doesn't seem to have much to do with repealing a law about abortion, but it does have everything to do with conforming ourselves to Christ. That is what transforms us into the heroes that we need to be. What if we allowed ourselves, what if we allowed the youth to not be moved by what's posted on Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff that leads away from this life? What if we had a whole generation that truly took up this call and said, I will do any sacrifice necessary so that this message gets out? How many of us here speak Spanish? Wow. ¿Qué tal también nosotros como comunidad hispana? ¿Qué tal si nosotros tuviéramos esta oportunidad de conformarnos tanto a Cristo que no nos movemos por lo que nos dice la cultura ni aquí ni en nuestros países, sino lo que nos dice Cristo? ¿Qué tal si nosotros pudiéramos transformar a nuestra comunidad viviendo de acuerdo a lo que Él nos enseña? How different would this society be? How different would our witness be? We're all here, all of us, as a church, here to make a stand, to stand up for life, to stand up against abortion. We do stand here for life. Now, this may mean that we have to sacrifice, even if the rest of the world doesn't. This may mean we give up pleasures, commodities, whatever else in our life, even if no one else does or listens. But what if that's what it takes? Will we stand for that?
Very good, and that powerful homily there from the Verizon Center. One of the things, just before we go out to Teresa, is the idea, I just wanted to touch base with you, Father. I was always thinking the term, he was talking about the idea of somebody saying normal,
yes,
about being born normal. And I think we live in this society who for the last 40 years has championed the idea that there is no such thing as normal, that everybody can be who they are, but it seems like when it comes to childbirth and having to do with the special needs, possibility is of a birth ending that way, that we're very worried about being normal.
Yes, and you know, there were those that predicted that this pro-life movement would just eventually die out very quickly after Roe v. Wade happened. But you've seen the opposite, that it hasn't. Why? Because if you're going against the natural law, the way things really are, the true normal, which is God's reality, is never going to go away.
Right.
Whether it's marriage discussion today, whether it's the abortion issue, that this is rooted in our nature, and that's the true normal.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And we're going to go out to Teresa, who has somebody we'd like to hear from. Teresa.
Doug, thanks. You know, one of the things you often hear in the abortion debate is that, well, what about the woman who conceives actually through rape? Well, We have a very interesting testimony, actually several here, with this incredible group of women, many of whom are from my home state of Michigan. I'm going to introduce us to Rebecca Kiesling from SaveTheOne.com, and you have several ladies with you. And this is what you hear often, Rebecca, is that, well, what about the woman who who gets pregnant through rape?
Oh yeah, it's the first thing that comes up. And so, three of us were all conceived in rape, and we've got Mary Rathke here, who is a double exception. And her birth mother was not only raped, but also her birth mother was schizophrenic. And then we have here Trevon Clifton, also from Michigan. And she says that she was pro-choice, actually wrote essays in support of pro-choice in high school. And she says, I was pro-choice until I met myself. And she learned her own story. Her mother confided in her about her own story when she was 18 or 19. And then we have here Lauren Chennai, who is from Ohio. And she became pregnant by rape, and she's got a beautiful daughter now as a result.
It's interesting. How is your story received when because I know you do a lot of secular interviews, and you're an attorney, and you're out there on the front lines in a number of different ways. How is your story received by the people who aren't sure they know how to react to this, because they're really hearing from someone like you for the first time in this very situation that they say, well, this is why I'm still pro-choice?
When they're interviewing me directly, they tend to be kind. But then I see stories that they'll run later where they're rather harsh. A lot of times the secular media, they'll call us the rapist child or all sorts of names. I mean, we Sean Hannity called us an evil seed. And he met me. So you have a lot of ignorance, and we need to bring awareness and let people know that we have value, and that the name of the organization is Save the One, because Jesus was all about saving the one. He left the 99 to save the one, the least of these. Who are the least of these in today's society? Is it not the so-called hard cases? Special needs, children conceived in rape, mothers from rape?
Are other women and men coming forward to tell their story for your ministry?
Yeah, and we have a database now of over 200, and I only started the database about 14 months ago. And I have dozens of stories on my website on Save the One. We have a couple dozen speakers, and we have the database organized by state, so you can see where people are from. And if you ever need anybody to testify in a legislature, we have people available. And also on the Rape Survivor Child Custody Act, we're hoping it'll get reintroduced in Congress this year, and that's to terminate the parental rights of men who rape. That's our other organization, Hope After Rape Conception.
Rebecca, you do such great work. Sorry I have to cut you off, but we're out of time. But again, I want to give the website. It's SaveTheOne.com to keep this in mind, and it's really good information and beautiful stories. Keep up the great work. See you back in Michigan.
All right, thanks. You so much.
Doug, back to you in the studio. Certainly, I think this is a topic of discussion that comes up, often the discussion of abortion, but these are the kind of people who have real life stories to tell, and we're glad they shared it with us this morning. Back to you in the studio.
Exactly, Teresa, exactly. It's so funny, those same people who say those things about blaming the victim, you know what I mean, Father, that idea. Well, you can't be blaming the victim. Well, who's more of a victim than the child itself, who had nothing to do with how he or she was conceived? One of the things I wanted to mention, too, just about the reach of EWTN, and also the idea, as Father was saying in his homily, we're here every year, we're marching every year, and to some degree some people say, yeah, what's it all about? Yeah, everybody shows up. But you never know who you're going to reach. You never know who you're going to touch. We had gotten an email a little while ago, a couple of days ago. A gentleman wrote us and said, God bless you all. Thank you for the prayer. I'm so grateful to EWTN. I work in the high Arctic, away from my spouse and away from my mom and dad. I get EWTN as part of a satellite package. Lately, it is the only channel I watch. How many times do we hear that from people?
Yes.
As I need my soul to have peace, especially through all of this. There's no Catholic Church here, so watching Mass is the only thing I get for 2 months. God bless you all. Your prayers, programming, very much appreciated. Thank you, Patrick.
I thought the sisters would enjoy that when you sent that out yesterday, so I sent it up to Sister Michael, and her response was, Mother would love this, because she said if the network only affected one soul, it was all worth it. And this is one of the ways that we say, even the high Arctic, to all the nations.
You never know who you're reaching. And it's the same thing to said even in your own family. You never know, because of the things you say or the things you do and how you're living your life, how you're impacting people. And we're going to go out to Brian Patrick, who's out at the mall with an interview. Brian.
We're back on the National Mall here at the March for Life. I'm Brian Patrick, along with a couple gentlemen from CMF Curo, Lewis Brown Jr. and Mike O'Day. Mike, tell us a little bit about Christ Medicus Foundation.
Christ Medicus Foundation was founded in 1998, and that was to protect Catholic health care in the marketplace and in public policy. And along with the Catholic Conference of Bishops, we were responsible for the Healthcare Conscience Rights Act, H.R. 940, and also we were the ones that exposed the beginnings of the HHS mandate. And we also just recently have introduced a Catholic healthcare sharing program that's available to Catholics now, and it was in the past really just part of an evangelical ministry. And Lewis will tell you more about that.
Yeah, this is in response to, of course, Obamacare.
Sure.
Health sharing is becoming rather common, and what is unique about your health sharing ministry?
Sure. So we're the first Catholic healthcare sharing experience in the country ever in the nation. And what it is an opportunity. We're creating a nationwide community of Catholics that come together and directly pay for and share each other's medical care. And the wonderful thing is it's all exempt from the Affordable Care Act. It's exempt from the individual mandate of the Affordable Care Act. So theoretically, we could have Catholics across the country that are saying, you know what, I'm not going to do the state or federal health care exchanges, many of which offer abortion or subsidize abortion. I'm not going to go into private insurance plans, some of which subsidize things inconsistent with our faith. I'm going to come into a Catholic healthcare sharing experience, CMF Curo. You can go to cmfcuro.com and learn about it. And I'm going to directly share my medical costs with my brother and sister in Christ and witness to the new evangelization, engage in active charity, engage in active subsidiarity, engage in kind of active community, and live your faith in healthcare. It's a beautiful thing. It's a new movement in healthcare.
And this isn't insurance as such. It's actually a co-op of sorts. And Mike, it's because it's Catholic and because there are these underlying principles, people can be sure that the money that they put in is not going to something that's morally offensive.
That's absolutely right. And it is exempt from the HHS mandate. And most people today, I mean, they can't find an answer. I mean, there just isn't an answer in the marketplace except now for this sharing program. Otherwise, they're going to be subsidizing abortion, contraception, sterilization.
Somebody might be watching and saying, that's what I want for my family. How do you go about getting connected with this?
Sure. So we would tell everyone, all the Catholics across the country that it makes sense for, to go to www.cmfcuro.com, check out the website, and we can take you through it. It's a new Catholic ministry. Not only are we trying to advance the gospel of life, but it's a wonderful way to witness to the new evangelization where Catholics are coming together in community to take care of each other in a voluntary community, witness to the way really that the early apostles lived, to live our faith in our healthcare, to bear each other's burdens, share each other's needs in healthcare.
I love that reference to the early church, the apostles. They came together as a community and shared everything. CMFCURO.com. CMFCURO.com. Lewis, Mike, thank you for what you're doing and for joining us.
Thank you very
Wonderful
much.
Wonderful day to be here.
All right. The sun is shining here in Washington. Doug, back to you there in Birmingham.
Thank you, Brian. Brian Patrick, of course, there on the Mall as we get ready for the rally and the event of the actual big march happening later today. And, of course, Brian's our anchor of EWTN News Nightly, one of Father Joseph's favorite programs on EWTN, a very, very popular program. And we're going to go right back out to Teresa Tomeo. Teresa.
Oh, hi, Doug. I'm sorry. I was hearing listening to the rally behind me, which is starting to build up, and some of the music is going with the college students. And we have someone with me, a group of people led by someone that you're very familiar with, a good friend of yours as well, Peggy Hartshorn from Heartbeat International. Hi, good to see you again, my girlfriend. God bless you. And we're so much warmer here this year.
Wonderful.
How are you? So who did you bring with you today?
Well, we have Yvette and Marcella, who are clients of the Pregnancy Help Center in Show Low, Arizona. This is their wonderful executive director, Lynette Carter. And our center in Show Low actually has the only pregnancy center on an Apache Indian reservation, totally staffed by Apache Indians.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful ministry they have with a maternity home. And we always bring, our moms and babies, some of our moms and babies that have been saved in the pregnancy centers, to Babies Go to Congress, which we did yesterday. We took these lovely ladies to see their representatives and senators from Arizona and tell them the pregnancy centers are good for America. So our goal is to get to all of the offices. We've been to 450 congressional offices, 23 states we've taken. So Marcella says, how are we going to get all the rest of the states? She's going to
You'll
help
work
us.
it though, right?
She's going to
You'll
help
do
us
it.
recruit.
You know,
Right.
the whole message here is that women really do choose life when they know there's help available. So many of them are
Absolutely.
choosing abortion because they feel there isn't. They don't think it's a choice. They feel like they have no choice.
Absolutely. We believe every woman has the right to have the love and support she needs to have a healthy pregnancy, and never should feel that abortion is their only alternative. And the pregnancy centers, this is what I love about bringing our moms and babies, because I get to hear some of these phenomenal stories. This pregnancy center in Show Low, Arizona, up in the White Mountains, actually helped Marcella not only through their maternity home, but they helped her gain citizenship. She's from El Salvador. They helped her become a citizen, and actually made it possible for her to have a wedding, which was held in the yard of the founder of the pregnancy centers, Dinah Monahan. So we go the extra mile. I love to see what the Lord does through His people in every community. I mean, this is an example of a small town, 10,000 people, I believe. Generally a rural community in the White Mountains, but we are there, and we will be everywhere offering women the love and the help and the support they need to choose life for their babies.
Must have been a very encouraging year for you last year, because we saw numerous abortion mills close, and we know that pregnancy resource centers outnumber abortion mills, and this is what we need. We need to keep this going in terms of getting more centers and make them more available for people.
Absolutely. The Holy Spirit is really working full time to raise up the people that we need in every community around the world. Heartbeat International, you know, now has centers in 50 countries and in all 50 states. And it's not something that we have done. You know, the Lord is moving through His people, like Lynette, and they have volunteers, limited paid staff, as you know, in most of our centers. They are grassroots, the people of the Lord reaching out with love and help for those in need.
So good, so encouraging. Thanks, ladies, and I'm
Thank
glad you're
you.
here on a beautiful day, and thanks for
God bless you,
always standing
Teresa.
up for life. Keep up the
Thank
great
you.
work. Our
Thank you
friend
from
Peggy
everyone
Hartshorn, big
at Heartbeat
supporter of
International.
EWTN. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
every year and for doing what you do. God bless you.
Great to be
Peggy
here.
Hartshorn from Ohio, and of course Heartbeat International, and it's an amazing organization, kind of an umbrella organization for pregnancy resource centers around the country and the amazing work they do. I just want to show you a little bit of what's happening behind me, if I could, because the rally is starting to fill up, and you see the college students, and they get so excited, and they sing and they dance, and they are just so joyful for life. So that's what's happening a little bit behind us on the mall, where it's starting to fill up, preparing for the big rally, which will start at noon. Doug, back to you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Teresa Tomeo, of course, from the Catholic Connection, our radio broadcast, and of course Brian, who's the anchor of EWTN News Nightly, and also, as we've announced recently, is returning to radio for EWTN in addition to his news responsibilities, probably later this summer, so you can look for rollout of that program. More information, again, EWTN. You go to EWTN.com. EWTN is everywhere. You can find us in all media, all different formats. Father, let's talk about something that, again, we think is important to mention, though we're not thrilled. Usually it's good when things get bigger, but unfortunately this is not so good.
We can think of the positive ripple effect that I talked about with Father Grochel's life and how that influenced others, and they now influence others. And I was thinking this number is about the number of my high school graduating class, and I think of the friends that I knew there, their children, their grandchildren, and now we have a number 234 that won't have children, won't have grandchildren. There won't be this positive ripple effect of life.
Well, they see that, and they talk about how many millions of people really aren't here because of abortion. You know, even for the young people out there, the brothers and sisters, their classmates, like you're saying, who would have been here, who aren't here because of the rage and the evil, basically, of abortion. And, you know, wouldn't it be great I was thinking with the counter going, wouldn't it be great if down the road that counter represented all the babies who were saved while this show was going on? And maybe it is I don't know how many are happening. We know some are, but wouldn't it be great if that's what that counter was representing, how many children weren't being aborted because people were making the right decision to back away from having an abortion.
And we know that the March for Life, the Walk for Life, the other events, as well as our coverage of this, that there are people alive today because of that people have made a better choice.
Right. And we see them there. And what's great about that, too, as we go out to Brian, is going to be, we're seeing the interviews with the people who are out there leading the charge. Once we see the march, after the rally, we'll see some more people. We'll start to talk to the people who are in the trenches, the people who are out there who've made the journey. So look for that. Maybe you'll see your friends and family later on as we cover the actual march itself. And now we go out to Brian Patrick. Brian.
Well, Doug, Kathy Sinnott has come all the way across the pond. She is the host of Celtic Connections, not to be confused with Teresa Tomio's Catholic Connections. The last time you were here, you were a member of the European Parliament.
That's right. About 7 years ago, it was a brilliant experience because I'd always watched the March for Life, but to actually be here and then take part in some of the conferences, it was just brilliant.
Tell us about how our pro-life movement here in the U.S. compares with Ireland and the U.K.
Well, you know, it's really alive here. You know, in Ireland, we only really faced the actual threat of legalizing abortion in the last couple of years. Up to now, we were always fighting off, you know, little changes or actually getting a pro-life amendment in the 1980s. And there's huge enthusiasm and all, but so much of it we've taken from the example of the U.S. Now, in England, the pro-life movement really is a movement of lobbying, yes, rallies, things like that, but they're so entrenched in abortion at this stage. It's really hard graft daily in England. In France, it's very interesting. In France, it's actually illegal to dissuade anyone from having an abortion, and they've even tightened up the laws in the last couple of years. So the pro-life movement is very hard even to see it. You know, once a year now there is a March for Life. They come out, but they're really walking on eggshells in France to stay out of jail.
So you must be fired up to see the incredible enthusiasm here.
Yeah, and on a nice Irish winter day as well.
The sun feels so good. So Kathy, tell us also about the Catholic college that you're beginning.
Well, you know, we've had a big deficit in Ireland in terms of the intellectual level for the culture of life. You know, people go to college in Ireland to lose their faith, to, you know, join the culture of death. You know, if you hang on to it, it's a real struggle. And we've finally started a faithfully Catholic college called Newman College Ireland, where students are doing philosophy, theology, history, you know, natural sciences, etc., and really understanding why we respect life and learning what to do about it.
Every life is a gift, and it's certainly a great gift to be here with someone from Ireland with a name like Brian Patrick.
Well, absolutely. But the big challenge that's coming, certainly in the UK, is at the other end of life. It's the euthanasia battle. And that's, you know, they've been staving it off. There have been court cases. We've had some victories. But euthanasia is very much a de facto practice in the UK, even if the legislation isn't completely in place yet. The other issue in the UK is because they brought their abortion legislation so early in the 1960s, there was a good conscience clause for doctors, nurses, etc. This was lost this year in a court case about midwives who refused to take part even at a slight distance from abortion. Now they've lost this case. They won one level of the courts and they've just lost on appeal in the Supreme Court. So this is a major blow because, of course, new abortion legislation like the Irish stuff has no real conscience provision. But just to say something about Ireland, January 1st, 2014, abortion became legal in Ireland up to the moment of birth if someone said that they were suicidal or, you know, for life of the mother, or someone said they were suicidal. To the best of our knowledge, we've only had one case. So to the best of our knowledge, there was only one attempt at abortion in Ireland in the last year, and that baby is still alive. It was in August. The doctor, under the law, terminated the pregnancy because the psychiatrist said the woman was suicidal, but rushed that baby to the neonatal unit, and we all call the baby Baby Hope. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but we know Baby Hope is still alive.
Every life is a gift, a precious gift from God. Kathy Sinnott from Celtic Connections, weekends on EWTN Radio. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you very much.
And there was a great sign, Teresa might have pointed it out. It said, "Save the stork." Just one more way to get that pro-life message through. Doug?
Very good, Brian. Thank you so much. It's great to see Kathy. And of course, Kathy does radio for EWTN out of Ireland. And we want to shout out to our friends in Ireland and in the UK. Father, we've got St. Bridget and St. Clair, both of those associations that are related to EWTN, who promote the work of EWTN and the channel in Ireland and also throughout the UK. So we want to mention that. I also wanted to mention one other thing. Quickly, just Raymond Arroyo's show on the world over. Look for a special pro-life program You've got Chris Smith is going to be on the program. Representative Dan Lipinski, Peggy Hortshorn will be on there as part of the panel. We'll see her later. We saw her with Teresa. And of course, Dorinda Bordley, the Bioethics Defense Fund. She's the VP and General Counsel. And Father Tad, who we see many, many times, is really an authority from the National Catholic Bioethics Center. So get some more in-depth coverage tonight with Raymond Arroyo on The World Over. Look for that. And also, one of the things we've been promoting is this 9 Days for Life. Now, you've participated in that. Why don't you talk about it?
Yes, I saw Brian Patrick had the head of the USCCB pro-life activities, a young lady there. She was talking about this app that you could get and to do this novena with others. And actually 35,000 and more are praying this novena. You can find it. It's 9 Days for Life with a 9-digit, 9 Days for Life. And so they have an intention for that particular day, an Our Father, 3 Hail Marys, a Glory Be that you'd pray, and a reflection on the scriptures, and then a beautiful teaching on that particular focus of the day.
Let me ask you just before we go to Teresa. That sounds great for somebody like myself. You know, I can use all the help I can get, you know, my everyday person. But you as a priest, you're always constantly involved with the scriptures and things. What do you get out of it? Does it help you too?
To do a 9-day novena?
Yeah, right.
Yes, because it focuses you on this reality and to pray for this specific intention. Of course, we have our divine office and we have our intentions. We pray for the church, for the world every day. But it's helpful also to have specific intention that you want to focus your prayers upon. So that's where a 9-day novena gives you 9 days to especially focus on that intention.
Let me just ask you before we go, why is it always 9 days? Why are novenas 9 days? It has a special meaning, right?
Sure, it goes back to the Acts of the Apostles, where they were waiting for the coming of the Holy Spirit for 9 days in the upper room, and then on the 10th day the Holy Spirit came.
Right, and that's the reason. So there's always method to our madness here in the
That's right.
church, isn't there? And going back out to the field, we have Teresa Tomeo. Teresa.
Thanks, Doug. And I'm very proud to say I have a group of young people along with their pastor from St. Mary's Catholic Parish from my alma mater, Central Michigan University. Fire up, Chips! Fire up, Chips! He's very enthusiastic for more things than just the Chippewas, all things like. Father, good to see you again. Father was with us in Rome for our coverage of the canonization. You had several students there, and I'll tell you what, everybody back home was so impressed with you and your love for the church and your love for life. Tell us about the students you brought with us today.
Oh, they're just great people, and I don't even know. I mean, I feel like I should let them speak about themselves.
Well, we will, but I want to hear from you first.
Well, my word, they're like the reason I'm on campus, you know, to be there for them, to hopefully like give them the great experience of the church that the church wishes them to have, that their faith will be strong, and that all the things that they're going to go into after their time at CMU would be enlivened with that mystery of their love for Christ.
How do you get the pro-life message out to these kids?
Well, I guess it comes about through a variety of things. I mean, a lot of them come kind of already with it in their hearts, and so they're getting involved in things like the Students for Life on campus and some of those talks, and engaging other people on campus as well. We always try to present on some of those issues throughout the course of the year, whether it's contraception, abortion, end-of-life issues, whether it's sexuality, all those sorts of things. We try to hit all of those in a series of talks, so that it's just part of what we do and how we try to form and try to speak the truth.
I didn't hear that when I was in Central Michigan. Let me
I'm
tell
so
you, let me
sorry.
talk to some of these students. And your name, honey, is?
Rochelle Valier.
Okay, and what year are you?
I am a senior.
You're a senior, good for
Yep.
you. And why are you pro-life?
I don't see how you cannot be. It's a life. How do you take a life?
Great. Congratulations on being a chip and being so pro-life. And your name, honey, is?
Chelsea.
And can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts on pro-life? She's speechless. She's speechless. All right, how about you with your big Central Michigan sweatshirt on?
Yeah, I'm Adam Newby.
Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Tell
you
us
as
why
well.
You came all the way down here.
I came because I just know how much God loves each and every life,
Amen.
and we need to get that message across to the people that maybe don't know or don't feel the same way, so that we help God protect those individuals that don't have a voice right now. So.
Is it a hard thing to do in the college campus these days, do you think, in terms, what's the atmosphere like there now at Central in terms of the pro-life cause and really being a strong Catholic student on campus?
There is a strong, at St. Mary's Church, there's a really good community of people. I come from a small town, and it's nice to have this community that is very powerful in what they believe and very pro-life, but at the same time there's a darkness outside of that as well. but I think St. Mary's is like a good core value that it spreads to, people spread their beliefs. So a lot of the pro-life movement is getting brought to other areas of the campus.
Well, you guys are making me very proud to be a CMU alumnus, so God bless you, and fire up Chips. Amen? All right. The Central Michigan Chippewas from my alma mater, CMU, and Father Demosthenes is a pastor from St. Mary's Parish, beautiful little Catholic church, and he's doing so much to encourage the students to continue in their Catholic faith. Doug, back to you in the studio.
Terrific. Thank you, Teresa. Always great to see the young people from college, especially, who are really just about to enter into the world, Father, where they're going to have to really learn to stand up for their faith going forward. And just to mention, obviously, we're bringing you interviews from the site of where the rally will begin at noon Eastern, then obviously followed by the march. You can stay with us, and of course, look for Jeannie Monahan Mancini, obviously, who's now in charge of the whole March for Life. And of course, she was on with Jim and Joy recently on EWTN. And also a couple of things just to look ahead for the platform. Look for Archbishop Joseph Kurtz, who actually did the Mass this morning.
Yes.
He'll be one of the speakers. Mr. Carl Anderson, a great friend of the network, of course, the Knights of Columbus. And he has really spearheaded the Knights getting involved, especially with pro-life issues, especially having to do with ultrasound machines, you know, the 3D and the 4D. And then also the president of Students for Life, Mrs. Kristen Hawkins, is going to be there as well. So we'll look forward for that. Some other different things to look forward to as our coverage continues here on EWTN. It's our Pro-Life Month, January. Go to EWTN.com and find out all the things we have to offer. Many programs still available as the month continues of our coverage here on EWTN for the March for Life, the West Coast Walk for Life, which is coming up on Saturday. And you can get in touch with us through social media. We're going to check in right now with our social media mavens again, Michelle Johnson and Mike Romano. Michelle.
Well, thank you. Earlier this week, we asked EWTN employees to send us photos of the babies that were born this year, and we're calling it the future of the pro-life movement. I'm going to show you just a half dozen of them right now. They're right over my shoulder if we can show them. I mean, is that cute or what? Here's another one, if I can get it. Hold on. Believe me. Oh, how cute is that? Oh wait, you missed the other one. Hold on. Can't go too slowly. There you go. Is that cute?
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to tell you, there's even there's Mike Romano, the fetus in the womb. These are adorable. And if you want to see more, you need to go to our Facebook page where we will show you more. We also asked people to tell us stories about why someone in their family who was disabled was a gift to them. And here's Rose, and there's so many. I mean, you've got to go on the Facebook page to see these. But Rose Gamarsh Ricker, I hope I said that right, says, my husband was given 3 to 6 months to live. He lived 18 months, saw his grandson be born, and watched him live to over 1+ years old. How can that not be worth living to see? He was a husband, a friend, a father, a grandfather, a son, a brother, a faithful friend. He lived fully till the end. A priest, family, and love surrounded Ron at the end. I pray I have this.
Wow. Beautiful. Mike? Beautiful. Well, my mom wrote in and said, as a grandmother of 5, Harper Ann, Donnie, Jordan, Benny, and soon to arrive Stella Rose, they really are my heart. I can't imagine life without them. What gifts they are. We feel so very blessed to have their joy. And my Aunt Sarah and Uncle Sammy just had their first granddaughter yesterday. God bless them with Sophia Rose Cottingham. And there's a picture behind me of Sophia Rose, who was born yesterday, as I said before, at 5 pounds 14 ounces. So I want to congratulate my cousin Stephanie and her husband Matt on their beautiful bundle of joy. And, you know, Father alluded to earlier about life is precious from womb to tomb, and every moment that I spend with my boys, Donnie and Jordan, is a precious moment. And I'd like to play this little video of me with my son Jordan sharing that precious moment. My son Jordan thought there was a bone in his chocolate.
This bone.
There's no bone in chocolate.
Oh gosh.
That's okay.
Chocolate.
There's a bone right there.
You're silly.
Yeah.
Is that not a bone in chocolate?
Yeah.
Like I said, every moment is precious, and those are just one of the many that I get to share. And God has blessed me and my wife immensely, and I thank God for it. And so back to you, Doug.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mike. And, Mike really takes the whole EWTN family very, very literally when we talk about it here at EWTN. Also, these days, giving your child at that age chocolate, you might get reported or something for not feeding them appropriately. And we're going to go out right now to Teresa Tamia, who's got some representatives from the Culture of Life Africa. Interesting. Teresa.
Yes, that's right, Doug. And you're very familiar, of course, with the Culture of Life Africa because this ministry actually started because of EWTN Radio. One of our listeners over in England, Uju Ikiocha, who is now living in Great Britain, but originally from Nigeria, wanted to do something about the pro-life cause in her native homeland. And she wrote me a letter, and the ministry took off. And here we are with three lovely ladies who are representing Uju here today because she couldn't be with us. I want to start with Lisa Morris, who's been with the American group here with Culture of Life. It's amazing how the group has grown in just a few short years.
It is, absolutely. Clearly the power of the Holy Spirit and Mother Mary's intercession. You know, you can just feel it from beginning to end, and what Uju has done is phenomenal.
Especially when you look at the prominence of the African bishops, especially in the last synod, and how they are really just being so strong and speaking up and speaking the truth. Now I want to talk to Linda, who also heard about Culture of Life of Africa through EWTN Catholic Radio, correct?
Yes, I was. I was actually watching your show when I heard Uju speaking. I, as a first generation American from Cameroon, was very inspired by the Culture of Life message. I love the fact that she's trying to promote the dignity of life and telling people you might want to help Africa, there might be issues there. Let's tackle poverty, let's tackle education, but let's not put abortion on the table as an option because all life matters. And so her ministry is spreading, and we're hoping to go ahead and promote COLA more, like through your show, marching. Africans out there, come join me. Let's march on Washington and spread this message about Culture of Life Africa.
And this is Jether. Tell me how you got involved in Culture of Life.
Well, actually, Linda is my sponsor. I'm a convert to the Catholic faith.
Welcome home to Rome, sister.
Thank you so much. And represent St. Thomas Aquinas Parish in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just so excited to be here. This is so important. Life is important, and it really does matter from conception to natural death. So I'm so happy to be a part of this movement. Come on out and support March for Life.
It's interesting, isn't it, how given this ministry and how it's grown, as I was telling Lisa, in just a few short years, and now how prominent Africa is in the whole world stage, especially in the area of not only abortion but contraception.
It really is an issue, and one thing I tend to see, which Uju has showed me, is that America tends to be the blueprint for how policy is shaped around the world. And Africa is slowly starting to get affected by this culture of death mentality, saying that abortion is okay. We have 5 countries now out of 54 in Africa that are now accepting abortion. And we're here to say that might sound little, but that can become a bigger issue. So we're here to say, let's talk about other legitimate options that are life-affirming. Let's not make the assumption that everything that's happening in the U.S. is the best blueprint. You know?
Please, dear God, no. We don't want to go down that route. But thank you so much, and keep up the great work. Then you're going to be going over to Africa to do some work there as well, you think? Would you like to?
Well, in the future, I would hope to work with Uju a little bit more. But one thing we're trying to do is start a grassroots effort here, gathering all the African diaspora to say March for Life is for everyone. It's international, and it's important to have African witnesses. Our bishops, our lay people, people in the U.S. coming to D.C., going to California, and saying we care for all babies, we care for African babies, so let's promote life.
You know, it's such a beautiful testimony to the witness of what happens here on Catholic TV and Catholic Radio, Doug. And I think for you, a real shot in the arm for what you and Mike and the gang back in Birmingham do, because sometimes we don't realize the impact we're having. But this is just something that one woman did who was a listener of ours, and now she's speaking, as you know, all over the world. She's been speaking at the Vatican. She speaks at bishops' conferences, and this is a result of her work, her yes to God, but the fact that EWTN is on the air in the first place. So let's root for our team, EWTN and the March for Life and cultureoflife.org. Back to you in the studio.
Very good, Teresa. Thank you so much. That's very, very powerful. And, people should know, Father, as you know, that EWTN goes around the world with multiple different channels, in all parts of the world. One of the places is India and Africa, and not only on the radio side, but also on the television side. And George Winkar actually works in Africa for EWTN and promoting EWTN television. And actually, Uju and also Donna were involved with a pro-life program that we actually shot in Africa this past year or so, and people can look forward to that. We're trying to reach out, do some other programming. We did some other programs with a priest who had been an intern here at EWTN who went on his own and shot a whole series of programmings, Father Emilu.
Yes.
So we have been trying to reach out because we know that's a big part of the church these days. I mean, there's rapid growth in the Catholic Church in Africa.
And it's been wonderful to meet some of the Nigerians and others from other countries there in Africa that have come here to visit, and even to come as priests to serve in dioceses here that are in need of priests. Last week I met a couple of Nigerians that had come from Nigeria.
Right, exactly.
So they watch the network and appreciate the network.
Right, and we actually offer an internship for priests out of Rome who come here and actually get trained in television and radio so they can ultimately go back to their dioceses and implement these things locally, which is really what the church is all about, subsidiarity. It's the local church that really matters.
We have a number of affiliates on our radio side here in the United States and in Latin America and so on, but we want to see that also to develop in other countries as well.
With that said, we're going to check in again with Brian Patrick, who's out at the rally site. Brian.